Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk, where we take a look at some really fascinating topics that'll make you think, wow, I never thought about it that way before.
It's always a pleasure to be back, ready to unpack some serious knowledge today.
Oh, absolutely. I was just thinking about, how much we take for granted just having a voice, having a say in things that affect our lives.
You're so right. We often assume we have control, especially when it comes to like our own homes and our communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like imagine this, you come home from a long day ready for PJs and relaxing, and suddenly you find out that your HOA has decided to repaint your entire house bright pink.
Oh, no, not bright pink. That is like my worst nightmare.
Right. And the kicker is they appointed some random person from down the street to make all the decisions about your house, your property, somebody you've never even met.
Wait, what? That's crazy. Like, how dare they make decisions about my house without even asking me?
Exactly. It's like, hello, I live here. My opinion matters.
Totally. I would be demanding to know what is going on. I'd be knocking on doors, calling the HOA president, maybe even starting a petition.
You'd be fighting for your right to be heard, to have a say in what happens to your own home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's my castle, my sanctuary, my haven from bright pink paint.
Okay, but here's where it gets really wild.
Oh.
Imagine you can't reason with him. Imagine it's not just a clueless HOA representative, but a whole system designed to silence your voice, and you can't move, you can't escape, because in this scenario, you are Taiwan.
Whoa, okay. Things just got serious. You're saying this isn't just some hypothetical HOA nightmare, this is actually happening to Taiwan.
You got it. It might sound unbelievable, but China has this group of 13 individuals in their National People's Congress, the NPC, who are called Taiwan Provincial Representatives.
Taiwan representatives, but that doesn't make sense. Aren't they supposed to actually be from Taiwan?
That's the catch.
Yeah.
None of them are actually Taiwanese citizens or have ever even lived in Taiwan. It's like your neighbor claiming to represent your house at the HOA meeting, even though they've never stepped foot inside.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. So China is claiming to represent Taiwan in their government, even though Taiwan has its own government and its people have no say in this.
Exactly. It's a mind-boggling situation, and it raises so many questions about representation, identity, and international relations.
I bet this creates some serious tension. What are the reactions like from China and the rest of the world?
Oh, you're right. It definitely does create some tension. Imagine being told that your voice, your vote doesn't even matter when it comes to decisions being made about your future.
That's got to be infuriating. It's like being completely silenced or erased from the equation. What's the reaction been like from the Taiwanese people?
Not surprisingly, there's a lot of anger, frustration, a sense of powerlessness.
Yeah.
Taiwan has a really strong sense of its own identity. Like over 60% of Taiwanese people identify as Taiwanese, not Chinese, according to some of the research we dug into. So having these representatives who have absolutely no connection to Taiwan claim to speak for them just feels incredibly disrespectful and invalidating. It's like being told who you are by somebody who doesn't even know you. How can China justify this whole setup?
Well, it all boils down to the One China policy, which is like the foundation of their stance on Taiwan. In their view, Taiwan is an inseparable part of China, and these representatives are a symbolic gesture of that unity. But the One China policy itself is rooted in a complex history stemming from the Chinese Civil War that ended in 1949 with the Communist Party taking control of mainland China while the opposing Nationalist Party fled to Taiwan.
So there's this historical baggage that continues to influence how China views Taiwan today.
Exactly. Both sides kind of interpret the One China policy differently for mainland China. It means Taiwan is ultimately under their control, while Taiwan maintains they are a self-governing democracy, and these quote-unquote representatives in the NPC just add fuel to the fire.
This is all so fascinating, but I have to admit, I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed. We've got historical baggage, political tension, conflicting identities. Is there any hope for a peaceful resolution to all of this?
Well, it's definitely a complicated situation. There's no doubt about that, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. There's a real risk of this escalating into something much bigger. In fact, several of the sources highlight a few key areas to watch closely.
Oh, okay. Like what?
First, there's the potential for increased military activity in the region. China has been increasingly assertive in its military presence near Taiwan, conducting drills and exercises that have raised concerns among Taiwan and its allies. It's like flexing their muscles, reminding everyone of their military might.
So those aren't just for show. There's a real fear that China might actually use force against Taiwan.
Unfortunately, that possibility is always there, and it's something that keeps world leaders up at night. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for Taiwan and China, but for global stability. If conflict were to break out, it could easily draw in other major powers, potentially leading to a much larger conflict.
Okay, that's pretty terrifying. What else should we be paying attention to?
Another area of concern is economic pressure. You see, China is Taiwan's largest trading partner, and they could use that economic leverage to try and force Taiwan into concessions. It's a tactic known as economic coercion.
Economic coercion, that sounds intense.
It is. It's essentially using economic power as a weapon. China could impose sanctions on Taiwan, restrict imports, or even disrupt crucial supply chains. They've used this tactic before with other countries that have challenged their policies.
Wow, it's like holding Taiwan's economy hostage. How is Taiwan responding to all this? Are they just sitting ducks waiting to see what China does next?
Definitely not. Despite facing these enormous pressures and risks, the Taiwanese people are remarkably resilient. They're actively working to build a more secure future for themselves, both internally and externally. They're investing heavily in their own defense capabilities, modernizing their military, and strengthening their cybersecurity infrastructure.
So they're not just taking it lying down. They're actively preparing for the possibility of conflict.
Exactly. They're also working to strengthen ties with democratic allies like the United States and Japan, seeking support and cooperation on security matters.
So there's this international element to the whole situation as well. It's not just a one-on-one between China and Taiwan.
Right. The international community plays a crucial role in this, and Taiwan's strategic importance, especially when it comes to global semiconductor production, means that other countries have a vested interest in ensuring its safety and stability.
Okay, so Taiwan is taking steps to protect itself both domestically and through international alliances. But what about economically? You mentioned China's potential to use economic pressure. So how is Taiwan navigating that threat?
They're taking a multi-pronged approach there as well. They're working to diversify their trade partnerships, reducing their reliance on China. They're also heavily investing in their own technological innovation, particularly in the semiconductor industry.
Oh, right. I've heard about Taiwan's dominance in the semiconductor market.
Exactly. Taiwan is a global leader in semiconductor manufacturing, producing the chips that power everything from our smartphones to our cars. By further developing this industry, Taiwan is creating a strategic advantage, making themselves indispensable to the global economy.
That's incredibly smart. It's like saying to the world, you need us, you can't afford to let anything bad happen to Taiwan.
Precisely. They're demonstrating their value to the world, which adds another layer of complexity to the whole situation. It's not just about military strength or political posturing. It's about economic power and global interdependence.
Okay, so we've talked about the reactions, the historical context, and the potential consequences. But what about us? What can we as regular folks do in the face of such a complex global issue? Do our actions even matter?
That's a question a lot of people grapple with when confronted with these massive, seemingly distant problems. But it's important to remember that even small actions can make a difference.
Okay, so what can we do? Tell us.
One of the most powerful things you can do is stay informed.
Knowledge is power. Right. The more we understand about what's going on, the better equipped we are to, I don't know, do something.
Exactly. Read articles, listen to podcasts like this one, follow reputable news sources, and engage in thoughtful discussions about the issue. The more you understand about the complexities of the Taiwan-China situation, the better equipped you'll be to have meaningful conversations and advocate for solutions.
So stay curious, stay informed, and keep learning.
Yes, and share what you learn with others. Talk to your friends, family, and colleagues about this issue. The more awareness we raise, the more pressure we can put on our leaders to take action.
Okay, spread the word, get people talking.
Right. Another thing you can do is support organizations that are working to promote peace and democracy in the region. There are many NGOs and think tanks that are doing incredible work to support Taiwan and advocate for a peaceful resolution to this conflict. You can donate to these organizations, volunteer your time, or simply help spread awareness about their work.
So put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. Support the organizations that are on the ground making a real difference. Anything else?
Don't underestimate the power of your voice. You can contact your elected officials, write letters to the editor, and speak out on social media. Let your representatives know that you care about this issue and that you want them to take action to support Taiwan and promote peace in the region.
So make some noise, be a squeaky wheel, and get the attention of those in power.
Okay.
I'm feeling empowered, but I also have to admit, all this talk about conflict and potential war is a little well heavy.
I hear you. It's a lot to process. But remember, amidst all this complexity, there's also this incredible story of resilience of a nation and its people determined to forge their own path.
That's a good reminder. Okay, listeners, I hope you're taking notes. We've got work to do. But for now, let's leave you with that thought. Even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, there's always hope, always a path forward. Okay, so we're back. And, before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to that homeowner analogy that we started with.
The one with the bright pink house?
Yeah, that's the one. But this time, let's flip the script a little bit. Instead of just feeling frustrated and powerless, what if that homeowner decided to get strategic? What if they came up with a plan to reclaim their voice and protect their interests?
Okay, I like where you're going with this. So let's put ourselves in Taiwan's shoes. If you were Taiwan facing this absurd situation with the so-called Taiwan representatives, what would your strategy be?
That is a tough one. There's no easy answers here, but I think I'd start by focusing on what Taiwan can control, which is strengthening its own position both domestically and internationally.
Yes, building up their own defenses and making themselves a valuable partner on the global stage.
Exactly. I would definitely invest in things like cybersecurity, military modernization, economic resilience. Make Taiwan a tough nut to crack, so to speak.
Absolutely. And it's not just about military strength. It's also about creating like a strong, vibrant society that people want to be a part of.
Right. I'd focus on fostering innovation, promoting Taiwan's unique culture and democratic values, and building strong relationships with other like-minded countries.
It's about showcasing Taiwan's strengths to the world, demonstrating why it deserves to be recognized and respected as its own entity.
Exactly. And speaking of showcasing strengths, I'd definitely make sure the world knows about Taiwan's dominance in the semiconductor industry.
Oh, that's crucial. Those tiny chips are essential to the global economy, and Taiwan is a major player.
Right. It's almost like a superpower in itself. I mean, think about it. China relies on those chips just as much as anyone else.
That's a great point. It creates a kind of interdependence that could help deter conflict.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you might not like us politically, but you sure do need our semiconductors.
It's a fascinating dynamic for sure, and it really highlights the complexity of this whole situation. There's economics, politics, history, national identity, and even technology all intertwined.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, but I think that's what makes these deep dives so valuable. We get to explore these multifaceted issues from different angles, unpack the complexities, and hopefully come away with a better understanding of the world around us.
Absolutely. And even though we're just two people having a conversation, it's important to remember that these conversations can spark bigger conversations, raise awareness, and maybe even inspire action.
So true. And speaking of inspiration, I think it's time for a little musical journey to lift our spirits after all this heavy stuff.
You read my mind. Our friends over at Mickytolife have been releasing some amazing travel-themed music videos lately. It's like exploring the world from the comfort of your own headphones.
I love it. It's the perfect way to unwind and recharge after a deep dive.
Definitely. All right, deep divers, we've reached the end of our journey for today. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of the complex world of Taiwan and China.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. We encourage you to continue exploring this topic, to dig deeper, to challenge your own assumptions, and to form your own opinions.
Because that's what the deep dive is all about, empowering you to think critically, engage with the world around you, and make your voice heard.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep on diving.